Hey, I'm Pops Roberts, and today we're diving deep into the synth game. We're going to break down stock instruments, waveforms, oscillators, filters, LFOs, and envelopes, all with the amazing wavetable synth from Ableton Live. So smash the like button, drop a comment, and let's cook up some mad sounds together. So in my MIDI channel, so that we can hear some actual playback, we won't be able to hear anything until there's actually music happening in there. So we've got our sheet music in there, and I've just got a basic chord progression that I've already played in. We can now hear, as I move the oscillators, how differently each of these wiggling shapes sound when I select them. So on the right-hand side here, this is selecting the different oscillators, and as we move through, you're going to hear drastic changes in the qualities of the sound. This is the sine wave. It's usually the starting point of all synthesis. It's very pure, very smooth. As we move, we can see not only does my visual shape change and start to become more like a triangle, but the sound becomes harsher and more resonant. Again, even harsher, more resonant, more angular. All the way through to very resonant and much more crisper or sharper sounds. So again, sharpness of the wiggle, sharper the sound. Another way that we can start to actually carve a very specific sound out of this is using filtering. So the central panel is the filter. We can control the frequency, which is whereabouts in sound it is. So if we think of sound as like a lasagna of layers, the bottom part of the lasagna is like all the subs and kicks, and the lower like thumpier, deeper sounds that you'd hear out of sub speakers, going all the way up to the top of the lasagna, which is really harsh sounds like hi-hats, things like this that are very resonant. They're towards the top. The bottom of the lasagna lives here. So this is our subs and kicks. The middle is the middle, which is things like a lot of vocals, keys, guitars there tend to take up that middle frequency range. And up towards the top, we have all the higher resonance. So when we start to carve away the top, you can hear here from this shape, and you can see from the shape, it's carving away, it's dropping down here, and the slope is getting rid of those upper qualities. So I'm going to actually exaggerate those upper qualities by one of these harsher waveforms up here. And now we'll hear, as I start to lose those top frequencies or carve them away using the filter, we hear a drastic change. So really resonant. And the lower we go, the more those qualities disappear, all the way down to us just having those bottom sounds, the lower sounds. Lovely. We can exaggerate these qualities, which is quite useful when you're actually really fine-tuning your sound, by using the resonance here. And you can see from the shape, as I increase the resonance, it really exaggerates the moment of where my filter cutoff is. So filter cutoff is where this slope comes off, rounds off. And I've exaggerated that peak. It goes up before it goes down. So before, when the resonance was low, it smoothly just dropped down from where it was. And here in the resonance, we've exaggerated it. So we've always got more of it before we completely get rid of it. Lovely. So that's another way of doing that. Alternatively, we can flip this around. So here I can see the shape of my filter, but I'm actually going to flip it using one of these different slopes or curves or cues, as some people call them. See how when I have the opposite, you can imagine what will happen now. It's flipped it on its head. So the opposite controls and obviously the opposite effect. So now the slope is different, and it will be us cutting out the bottom end rather than cutting the top down. So that's it with everything. And as I increase the frequency, just left with the resonance, all that high action there, down to like almost like hissing sounds right near the top. So another really great way of being able to customize this sound. On the right-hand side, we're starting to see the beginnings of envelopes. Now, envelopes and LFOs are things that are very much misunderstood or potentially not understood entirely of what they do, and when you would use an envelope and when you would use an LFO. Let's take a look at the qualities of this envelope. This first envelope in wavetable, as we can see up here, what we've selected is the first of the envelopes, which is all to do with the amplitude or the actual volume of the performance of this note. So it's a very basic thing that it's covering. It's just controlling how powerful the sound is. It's just the volumes of it. Whereas we have these other envelopes here that look the same, but they're not doing anything yet. LFOs are here, and they look a little bit similar to our waveforms here. There's no coincidence there, but we'll take a look in a moment. So we have 2 LFOs and 3 envelopes at our fingertips here. Almost every envelope will have ADSR. Now, ADSR are the different parameters of which we can change the behavior of this envelope. To boil that down, let's say that we've given somebody an instruction. They're on the volume section of this instrument. So we're playing the instrument. So imagine you're playing a keyboard of some nature, and your friend over here is controlling what happens every time you press it down. That friend is the envelope, and we can give this person instructions of exactly what to do every time I hit the keys. Attack refers to once the sound occurs, or let's say the virtual keyboard is held down, that is how fast this instrument will reach its peak volume. So when you first hit a keyboard or you hit a guitar or something, there's that first peak of sound. So when the attack is really close here, or a short attack, rather than a long one, we have instants. If I press this, it's quite a little bit like when we looked at the drums. It's very resonant, it's kind of harsh. But if I slow down or I make this attack longer, it's going to take longer to reach its peak. So we'll hear that now. It's going to have a much more slow effect. If I go even further, you can hear how extreme this is. So we can hear how long that's taking to go from the moment I press it through to when it hits its peak. So that's what the attack controls. I'm going to keep it here so that it's a bit more percussive. Decay is the time between this peak and when the sound returns to its steady state of intensity. You can see here, this has gone to its peak, and decay is how quickly it gets down to the main body of the sound. So we hit right at the top and we come down to a steady state, so the main body of our sound. I can make this even more exaggerated. I can actually dictate how much it dips down or how quickly it gets there. So the less time between those two, it will quickly go to its main body. It's quite flat, just doing the same thing. Whereas if I take longer to do that, it's going up to a top and it's slowly coming down. Sustain is next, and sustain is referring to the steady state, the main body of the sound, or how the intensity maintains throughout the main body of it. And then our sound's final journey is the release, which is how quickly, once I let go of the button or this keyboard or whatever is triggering it, this behavior of the sound once that's let go. So how it releases itself. So when the release is very short, I'll shorten that up, and you can see that I can either use the virtual diagram here to manually move around my actual parameters, or I can go down and either type it in, right, 7 milliseconds. I can be really precise, or I can drag this up or down and use it here. So it's really down to your own preference. When the release is short, it will mean, a bit like attack, when I let go, it will go really fast. So, gone. Really fast. Whereas when the release is long, you probably guessed it, I let go, and the sound takes a while to decay, well, to release. So the longer the release, the longer that's fading away. So it's entirely up to you of how you want this sound to behave. But those are the main parameters of ADSR. It's just the behavior of that particular envelope, in this case with amplitude. If you enjoyed the video, you can tap the link below and become a Saffron member to get some deeper insights into your music production.